Hello, I'm Laura with IndoorGardening.com, and today we're going to talk about how to care for your Tradescantia plants. Tradescantia are very prolific. They're even invasive in some areas of America. Tradescantia are known for their absolutely gorgeous foliage. They come in a variety of different shapes, sizes, and colors. Most of them are creeping or trailing plants, so they create a very unique look, and they are widely loved in the houseplant community. There are 85 different species of Tradescantia out there, and a wide variety of cultivars have been produced and put on the houseplant market since then. They are a little bit finicky though. A lot of times what will happen is they will be overwatered, they will start to die off, people will notice that they're not full and bushy up top, and they'll start to have issues. And we're going to talk about all those problems today and exactly how to keep your beautiful Tradescantia thriving and full. The first thing that we always like to talk about with our houseplant care guides is the origin of the houseplant. This particular plant is actually from North America and Central America. Most houseplants are actually from South Africa. This is one of the very few that is cultivated so heavily on the houseplant market that is actually from America. Although it goes by many other names, it's also called an inch plant, so you can find it under that, and then they have their specific cultivar names. One of the very first Tradescantia was actually collected in North Carolina and shipped out from there into England to be put into cultivation and spread about as houseplants, and it's just continued to evolve and thrive from there. Biggest issue that this plant has as a houseplant is lighting. They love their light. They want as much light as possible. They're out in full direct sun outside to keep their beautiful colorations. When they do not get the light that they need, you will end up seeing them revert to just a plain green. They will start to lose the brightness and the vibrancy of their foliage, and they'll just kind of dull themselves back. If they're a fuzzy Tradescantia, then you will notice that they are much less fuzzy when they don't need as much protection from the sun, because that's what the hairs do for them. They produce more and more hair the more light that they have. So you can end up having beautiful, full, furry Tradescantia like the Montana if you end up giving them as much light as possible. They're definitely a very unique, beautiful houseplant. Do not scrimp on the lights. This next thing is the thing that kills them the most: watering. A lot of times people will overwater or they will underwater their Tradescantia. What you want to do is wait until the Tradescantia leaves become more flexible and less firm like cardboard. As the plants get older and the foliage gets bigger, generally you'll be able to feel that they're more thick and succulent, almost like an echeveria, but not as thick. And you will be able to tell just by the feel of your plant how often it needs to be watered, and that's what you're going to go by. So when you're going to water them, bottom water them, or make sure to get that watering can deep at the base of the plant. Don't get water all over the foliage, because then you'll end up getting brown spots on them where the water sits on it. They just don't like it. Outside plants are not as picky, and they grow so prolifically that if you get spots on them, it doesn't really matter. But in smaller pots in the home where you're watching every single leaf as it unfurls and you're just loving life with this plant, you definitely notice that half a leaf gets a brown spot on it because you left water on it. Next up, let's talk about temperature for these plants. These plants like it hot and they like it humid. They like North Carolina, Florida, those type of temperatures. They're happy to survive in warm tropical temperatures. They can go down quite a bit as well. They can go into about the 40s. They can go down to about 45 degrees, 40 degrees. Anything lower than that, when it starts to get to freezing temperatures at 30s, then they're not going to be so happy. They are not frost tolerant plants. So just something to keep in mind there. But if you happen to leave them on your porch a little bit longer than normal, your heating goes out inside your home, something along those lines, these plants are ones that are not going to shed all their leaves and get really cranky because the temperatures went down a little bit. Because they are native to the Americas, they can handle a little bit of a colder temperature, and they're not so picky. They're definitely not going to be producing any new growth if it's very cold, but they will definitely be a bit more forgiving than most tropical houseplants. Next, let's talk about humidity. Tradescantia can handle a lower humidity. They do not need a high humidity. That being said, because they're creepers and ground crawlers, you will notice that they definitely enjoy humidity, and as they grow outwards, they create a huge mat that traps humidity around their root bases. You're going to need humidity to get them to propagate. So that's something to keep in mind as well. You want them to grow more quickly, give them a little bit more humidity. They don't like water on their leaves like we mentioned before, but they don't mind ambient humidity around them. So they're also really good for terrariums. They're one of those few plants that are not normally thought about for terrariums, but because they are very small and they're kind of creepers, they tend to make great ground cover for terrariums as well. They do grow quickly, regardless of whether they're in high humidity or a lower humidity. They're still going to grow for you pretty quickly compared to most other houseplants. So if you're somebody who likes to see results on a regular basis, this is definitely the type of plant for you. Speaking of propagating Tradescantia, because Tradescantia are creepers, they tend to kill off the old leaves and continue to grow new leaves. They don't use up a lot of resources, but they end up killing off their old foliage. So a lot of times what happens when you have this as a hanging basket is the top will get bare and then the bottom will be nice and full. So you have to chop the plant. You can reroot in water, or you can just make holes up top, pop the little pieces back up top in the soil, and it will continue to grow as long as you give it enough light. Make sure to give it a good watering after you have propagated the plant and put them back in the soil. You can also propagate these plants in any type of propagation box. We have a whole video on that as well. So you could do like perlite, sphagnum moss, stratum, leca, pretty much anything. These plants will grow in anything. They are considered invasive in several areas, so they definitely like to grow. Be sure to check out indoorgardening.com for more information. We're always happy to help. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!